Imagine standing in the heart of Times Square, not just as a tourist gazing at the dazzling billboards, but as one of 18 American children on a school trip in 1994. The air buzzes with excitement, the city a symphony of sounds and sights, a world of wonder unfolding before young eyes. Now, fast forward 30 years, those vibrant, hopeful faces are etched into the memories of parents, a constant ache, a gnawing question mark that time has failed to erase. The city, ever-changing, still pulses with life. But for those families, a significant part of that pulse stopped on that fateful day. Their children, 18 bright sparks, vanished, leaving behind an emptiness so profound it reshaped their world. This isn't just a story of missing children, it's a deep dive into the enduring scar left on families and a city, a testament to a loss that defied explanation and a search that never truly ended. Today, in a twist that is both haunting and strangely hopeful, a forgotten discovery has surfaced from the shadows of the past. The very bags belonging to those vanished children. Unearthed from a forgotten corner, these simple objects, once filled with the trivialities of a school day, now stand as silent, potent witnesses to an unimaginable tragedy. They are physical anchors to a moment frozen in time, artifacts of a day that shattered countless dreams. This documentary embarks on a journey to unravel the persistent pain that has defined these lives for 3 decades, to explore the relentless pursuit of answers that have often led to dead ends, and to uncover the unexpected echoes of hope that continue to resonate through the intervening years. We will paint a vivid tapestry of shattered dreams, yes, but also of a community's unwavering spirit, a spirit that refused to let the memory of these children fade into obscurity. This is an invitation to confront the specter of the unknown, to understand the profound impact of sudden, unexplained absence, and to reflect on the enduring, often surprising, power of memory. It's a narrative that delves into the very fabric of parental love, the resilience of the human spirit, and the universal anxieties that lie just beneath the surface of our everyday lives. The rediscovery of these bags isn't just a news item. It's a catalyst, a fresh wound opened in the hope of finding a long-sought balm, a chance to revisit the unanswered questions with new eyes, and perhaps, finally, to offer some measure of peace to those who have waited so long for it. The story of these 18 children is a stark reminder that even in the most public, most bustling of places, profound mysteries can unfold, leaving indelible marks on the landscape of human experience. The rediscovery of the children's bags, after 3 decades of absence, doesn't merely reopen old wounds. It presents a unique opportunity to examine the psychological impact of unresolved disappearances on family dynamics. For parents grappling with the vanishing of their children, the absence isn't a static void, but a dynamic entity that warps perceptions and alters relationships. Consider the phenomenon of ambiguous loss, a term coined by psychologist Pauline Boss, which perfectly encapsulates the state of those whose loved ones are missing. This isn't just about missing someone, it's about having a person who is physically gone, but psychologically still present, caught in a liminal space between life and death, presence and absence. The bags, in this context, are not just lost property. They are tangible anchors to that ambiguous loss, physical manifestations of a hope that refuses to die and a reality that refuses to solidify. The parents' lives become a perpetual state of waiting, of scanning crowds, of interpreting every unfamiliar face, every unanswered phone call. This constant hypervigilance, born from the unresolved nature of the disappearance, can strain even the strongest marital bonds and alter parent-child relationships with surviving siblings, who may feel overlooked or secondary to the ghost of their missing brother or sister. The discovery of the bags, while potentially offering a flicker of new information, also forces a re-engagement with this deeply ingrained psychological state, a re-immersion into the very uncertainty that has defined their existence for so long. It's a stark reminder of how the unknown can become a dominant, defining force in one's life, shaping decisions, influencing emotions, and ultimately altering the very trajectory of a family's history. The psychological toll is immense, creating a unique form of grief that lacks closure, a wound that never truly heals because the cause remains elusive, a phantom limb of the heart. Furthermore, the unearthed bags serve as powerful catalysts for re-examining the investigative methodologies and societal responses to missing persons cases, particularly those involving children. In 1994, the landscape of child abduction investigations, while evolving, differed significantly from today's integrated systems. Technologies that are now commonplace, such as widespread DNA databases, sophisticated facial recognition software, and the instant dissemination of information via social media and Amber Alerts, were either nascent or non-existent. The initial search for these 18 children likely relied on more traditional, albeit dedicated police work, canvassing, witness interviews, and the dissemination of physical flyers. The sheer scale of their disappearance in such a public locale, however, would have necessitated an immediate and immense mobilization of resources. Yet the fact that their belongings remained undiscovered for 3 decades speaks volumes about the potential blind spots or oversights that can occur even in the most high-profile investigations. It raises questions about how evidence can be overlooked, how leads can go cold, and how the passage of time can obscure crucial details. The discovery prompts a critical retrospective. What if certain avenues of inquiry had been pursued more vigorously? Were there technological limitations that hindered progress? How did the media frenzy and public outcry, while helpful in raising awareness, potentially impact the delicate process of evidence collection and investigation? This rediscovery compels us to consider the evolution of law enforcement's approach to missing children, highlighting both the advancements made and the enduring challenges that persist, underscoring the need for continuous adaptation and learning in the face of such profound human tragedies. The rediscovery of these 18 bags, after 30 years hidden from view, compels a deeper examination of the psychological endurance required to maintain hope in the face of prolonged uncertainty. Parents in such situations often develop unique coping mechanisms, a resilience forged in the crucible of unanswered questions. One such mechanism is the active construction of narrative, an attempt to fill the void with plausible explanations, even if they are speculative. This isn't about denial, but rather about creating a mental framework that allows for continued functioning. These narratives might involve elaborate scenarios of accidental separation, or even more complex, albeit less likely, theories of organized abduction, each designed to provide a semblance of order to an inherently chaotic event. The bags in this light become potent talismans, physical objects that can be imbued with meaning and purpose within these personal narratives, serving as tangible links to the ongoing search and the enduring hope for resolution. Now, consider how this applies when you face your own moments of uncertainty. The human mind's innate drive to seek coherence and meaning is a powerful force, shaping our perception of reality even when faced with the inexplicable. Furthermore, the social fabric of a community is profoundly tested, and conversely can be strengthened by such a traumatic event. The shared experience of loss, even for those not directly affected, can foster a deep sense of empathy and collective responsibility. This often manifests in sustained community efforts, from memorial services and fundraising drives to the ongoing support offered to the affected families. The rediscovery of the bags might reignite these dormant community bonds, prompting a renewed collective engagement with the mystery. It can also highlight the ethical considerations surrounding the media's role in such cases. While media attention is crucial for raising awareness and generating leads, it can also inadvertently create a circus, complicating investigative efforts and further traumatizing families. The way the story of the bags is presented, the narrative that emerges, will inevitably shape public perception and potentially influence the ongoing search for answers, underscoring the delicate balance between public interest and the deeply personal nature of grief and investigation. Building on this, the rediscovery prompts a consideration of how societal memory itself operates, particularly concerning collective traumas that remain unresolved. The disappearance of these 18 children, while a profound personal tragedy, also represents a collective scar on the city's consciousness. The bags, as newly surfaced artifacts, have the potential to reanimate this collective memory, bringing the event back into public discourse and prompting a reassessment of its impact. This can lead to a re-evaluation of societal preparedness for such events and a renewed commitment to ensuring that no such disappearance fades entirely from public awareness. It's akin to unearthing an old photograph that suddenly brings a forgotten era back into sharp focus, reminding us of past vulnerabilities and the enduring lessons learned, or perhaps the lessons yet to be fully absorbed. Another crucial layer involves the psychological phenomenon of anticipatory grief, a concept that describes the complex emotions experienced when a loss is anticipated but has not yet occurred. For the parents of these missing children, this state has persisted for 3 decades. The rediscovery of the bags, while potentially offering a path toward closure, also carries the risk of reintroducing acute grief, a resurgence of the initial shock and despair. This creates a complex emotional landscape where hope and dread are often intertwined. The bags are not simply clues, they are emotional landmines, capable of triggering a cascade of deeply buried feelings, necessitating a careful and sensitive approach to their examination and the subsequent unfolding of the narrative. Conversely, these unearthed belongings also represent a tangible opportunity to challenge the finality of absence. While the children may be gone, their stories, preserved in these bags, can continue to be told, debated, and investigated. This act of continued engagement, fueled by the rediscovery, is a powerful testament to the enduring human need to seek truth and to honor the memory of those lost. It's a narrative that refuses to be silenced by time or circumstance, demonstrating that even in the face of the inexplicable, the pursuit of understanding can offer a form of solace and a means of keeping the past vibrantly alive in the present. The rediscovery of the children's bags doesn't just reignite the investigative process. It forces a profound re-evaluation of how we, as a society, memorialize and process collective trauma, particularly when the narrative remains incomplete. Think about the enduring power of certain historical artifacts, a fragment of pottery, a faded photograph, a personal diary. These objects, often unearthed decades or even centuries after their creation, serve not merely as historical curiosities, but as conduits to understanding the human experience of a bygone era. The bags, in this context, are akin to such artifacts, but with a chillingly immediate and unresolved human dimension. They represent a tangible connection to a moment of national bewilderment, a stark reminder that even in the most illuminated of places, shadows can swallow the innocent. The fact that these personal effects remained hidden for so long raises questions about urban decay, forgotten spaces within the city's infrastructure, and the sheer volume of detritus that even a bustling metropolis can accumulate, capable of swallowing secrets for years. This prompts a consideration of urban archaeology, not in the classical sense of excavating ancient ruins, but in understanding how the physical landscape of a modern city can inadvertently become a repository for unresolved human stories, a silent witness to events that have been relegated to the periphery of collective memory. The act of unearthing them is a form of historical excavation, bringing a buried narrative back into the light, compelling us to confront the layers of time and neglect that can obscure the truth. Consider, too, the profound impact on the perception of public spaces. Times Square, a nexus of global attention and constant activity, paradoxically became the site of an unfathomable void. This juxtaposition challenges our assumptions about safety and visibility. The presence of the bags, found in a forgotten niche, underscores how even the most surveilled and populated environments can harbor hidden vulnerabilities. It's a potent reminder that the perceived security of public spaces is not absolute, and that the unexpected can occur in the most ordinary of circumstances. This rediscovery might prompt a renewed focus on urban planning and security, encouraging a more nuanced understanding of how seemingly innocuous spaces can become sites of profound significance, either through intended use or through unforeseen events. Now reflect on your own experiences navigating crowded public areas. Does the awareness of this event change how you perceive the anonymity and potential hiddenness within such spaces? It introduces a layer of existential awareness, a subtle but persistent question about what might lie just beyond the periphery of our immediate perception, hidden in plain sight. Furthermore, the rediscovery of these personal belongings compels us to consider the evolving nature of evidence and its potential to resurface. In the digital age, information is often fleeting, easily deleted or lost. Yet, physical objects possess a unique persistence. These bags, having endured for 30 years, represent a form of tangible evidence that transcends the ephemeral nature of digital data. Their reappearance might inspire a re-examination of cold cases across various domains, not just missing persons, but also unsolved crimes where physical evidence might have been overlooked or deemed insignificant at the time. It highlights the enduring value of physical artifacts in the pursuit of truth and the importance of preserving such items, even when the initial investigation appears to have reached an impasse. Think about the scientific principle of entropy. While many things decay and dissipate, certain physical objects, under specific conditions, can remain remarkably intact, preserving their story. These bags act as a testament to that principle, a physical manifestation of a narrative that refused to dissolve entirely. Another critical facet to explore is the psychological burden carried by those who are tasked with the ongoing search for answers, including private investigators, forensic specialists, and even dedicated journalists who may have followed the case over the years. The rediscovery of the bags represents not just a potential breakthrough for the families, but also a renewed impetus for these professionals, a chance to apply new techniques or perspectives to long-dormant leads. It can be a source of both immense pressure and profound motivation, a reminder that their efforts, however protracted, might finally yield the resolution that has eluded everyone for so long. Imagine a historian who has spent their career piecing together fragments of a lost civilization, only to discover a key artifact that unlocks an entirely new understanding of that culture. The emotional investment and dedication required in such pursuits, whether academic or investigative, are immense, and the rediscovery of these bags offers a potent, albeit bittersweet, validation of that enduring commitment. Moreover, the narrative surrounding the bags inevitably touches upon the complex interplay between public fascination and the private grief of the families. While the media's interest might be revived by this discovery, it's crucial to distinguish between public curiosity and the deeply personal, often agonizing journey of the parents. The bags are not simply a sensational story. They are intensely personal relics that carry the weight of profound, unresolved loss. This distinction necessitates a sensitive approach to how the narrative is constructed and disseminated, ensuring that the privacy and emotional well-being of the families remain paramount. It's a delicate, ethical tightrope, balancing the public's right to know and the family's right to mourn and seek answers without undue intrusion. Consider the difference between admiring a masterpiece in a museum versus experiencing a deeply personal memento from a loved one. Both have value, but their contexts and emotional resonance are vastly different. The bags occupy this latter, more intimate space. The rediscovery of the children's bags prompts a critical examination of the psychological phenomenon known as phantom memory, where individuals hold on to recollections of events that may have never occurred or are significantly distorted. For the parents, the bags might serve as anchors, solidifying fragmented mental images of their children's last known moments, potentially filling in gaps with imagined details to create a more coherent, albeit painful, narrative. This isn't to suggest fabrication, but rather the mind's natural, albeit sometimes misleading, attempt to construct meaning from trauma. Consider how, after a significant shock, people might recall details with an unusual clarity that upon later reflection or corroboration proved to be inaccurate. The bags can inadvertently reinforce these phantom memories, making them feel more concrete and real, thus complicating the objective pursuit of truth. This psychological response highlights the profound subjective experience of grief and the mind's intricate mechanisms for coping with the inexplicable absence of a loved one. Furthermore, the unearthed items necessitate a consideration of the evolving ethical landscape surrounding the reporting of missing persons cases and the dissemination of potentially sensitive evidence. In 1994, media protocols were less standardized than today, and the initial coverage of such a high-profile disappearance might have inadvertently sensationalized the event or focused on speculative theories. The reappearance of the bags, particularly if they contain any new, albeit circumstantial, clues, raises questions about how such information should be handled. Should this discovery be immediately broadcast, potentially leading to a deluge of unverified tips and further distress for the families? Or should it be meticulously analyzed by investigators first? Think about the current debate surrounding the responsible reporting of sensitive information, where the imperative to inform must be carefully balanced with the potential for causing harm or undue speculation. The bags, in this regard, represent not just potential evidence, but also a case study in media ethics and the responsible stewardship of deeply personal tragedies. Another crucial layer to explore is the concept of liminality in the context of unresolved disappearances, where individuals and families are left suspended in a state of in-betweenness, neither fully present nor completely absent. The children are gone from their families' lives, yet their physical whereabouts and fate remain unknown, leaving them in a perpetual state of not here, but not gone. The bags, as newly surfaced tangible links to these missing individuals, further underscore this liminal state. They are remnants of a life that was, but offer no definitive conclusion to the story. Now consider how this state of suspended reality can impact decision-making and future planning. The inability to definitively mourn or to declare a person legally deceased can leave families in a protracted state of emotional and practical limbo, unable to fully move forward. The bags, therefore, are not merely objects of discovery, but potent symbols of this enduring liminality, a physical manifestation of a narrative stuck in perpetual transition. Conversely, the rediscovery of these personal effects might also trigger a re-evaluation of societal support systems for families experiencing prolonged, unresolved loss. While immediate responses to disappearances are often robust, the long-term psychological and practical needs of these families can be overlooked as time passes and public attention wanes. The resurfacing of the bags could act as a catalyst for renewed community engagement and advocacy, prompting a broader conversation about sustained support mechanisms for those living with ambiguous loss. Think about the long-term impact of natural disasters or widespread tragedies. Often, the initial outpouring of aid diminishes, leaving survivors to navigate their recovery in relative isolation. This discovery presents an opportunity to reflect on how society can better support individuals and families who remain in a prolonged state of uncertainty, ensuring that their needs are recognized and addressed beyond the initial crisis phase. Finally, the presence of the bags introduces a fascinating dynamic related to the theory of mind, which is the ability to attribute mental states, beliefs, intents, desires, emotions, knowledge to oneself and to others. For the investigators and the families, the bags become focal points for hypothesizing about the children's last moments, their thoughts, their fears, and their actions. Each item within the bags, from a crumpled ticket stub to a half-eaten snack, can be interpreted as a clue to their state of mind. Now consider how this applies when you try to understand someone else's motivations. We constantly infer mental states based on observable behaviors and contextual clues. The bags provide a wealth of such clues, inviting a complex exercise in empathy and inference, forcing those involved to step into the imagined shoes of the vanished children to try and comprehend their experience through the silent testimony of their belongings. The rediscovery of the children's bags introduces a compelling dimension concerning the psychological phenomenon of affective forecasting, the way individuals predict their future emotional responses to events. For the parents, the enduring hope that their children will return has for 30 years been intertwined with predictions of immense joy and relief. The bags, however, represent a potential disruption to this long-held emotional forecast. Their reappearance, while potentially leading to longed-for answers, also brings the possibility of devastating news. This forces a recalibration of future emotional expectations, a daunting task after decades of projecting a specific positive outcome. Now consider how this applies when you anticipate a significant life event, like a job interview or a major purchase. We often project our likely emotional state upon its conclusion. The parent's emotional landscape has been shaped by a projected reunion, and the bags introduce a starkly different potential future, one that requires a profound psychological adjustment, confronting the dissonance between anticipated joy and the potential reality of confirmed loss. Furthermore, the presence of these newly unearthed belongings necessitates a deeper understanding of how physical objects can act as memory triggers in ways that transcend simple recall. Beyond serving as mere reminders, these bags, filled with the personal effects of the vanished children, can evoke powerful sensory and emotional experiences, potentially reactivating dormant neural pathways associated with the children themselves. Imagine the scent of a particular perfume or the texture of a fabric that instantly transports you back to a specific moment or person. These bags possess a similar, albeit more profound, evocative power. Each item within them, a worn toy, a school photograph, a handwritten note, can trigger a cascade of associated memories, emotions, and even physical sensations, blurring the lines between past and present in a deeply personal and often overwhelming manner. This phenomenon underscores the tangible connection between our physical environment and our internal psychological states, demonstrating how even seemingly mundane objects can hold immense emotional significance. Conversely, the reappearance of the bags compels us to consider the concept of attentional bias in the context of prolonged investigations. Attentional bias refers to the tendency to pay more attention to certain types of stimuli, often those that are personally relevant or emotionally charged. For the parents and investigators, the bags as the most significant new evidence in decades, are likely to become the focal point of their attention, potentially overshadowing other, perhaps equally important avenues of inquiry that might have previously been overlooked. Now consider how this applies when you're searching for something specific, like a misplaced key. Your focus narrows, potentially blinding you to other objects that might be nearby. The bags, while offering a crucial new direction, could inadvertently create a tunnel vision, requiring a conscious effort to maintain a broad perspective on the entirety of the case and to avoid prematurely prioritizing certain lines of investigation over others, ensuring that the renewed focus remains comprehensive and not solely fixated on the rediscovered items. Another critical layer involves the concept of narrative transportation, the process by which individuals become immersed in a story, experiencing it as if they were part of it. The rediscovery of the children's bags instantly transports the public, and especially the affected families, back into the unfolding mystery of 1994. This immersive experience can amplify empathy and emotional investment, making the search for answers feel more urgent and personal. Think about how a compelling novel or film can draw you into its world so completely that you begin to feel the character's emotions as your own. The bags, by providing a tangible, concrete element to a decades-old narrative, enhance this transportation, making the abstract concept of a missing child far more visceral and immediate for those who engage with the story. This heightened immersion underscores the power of narrative in shaping our understanding and emotional connection to events, particularly those marked by profound human drama. The rediscovery of the children's bags compels a profound exploration into the psychological phenomenon of counterfactual thinking, the mental act of imagining alternative possibilities or outcomes to past events. For the parents, this means constantly replaying the day of the disappearance, not just to recall details, but to mentally alter decisions. What if they had taken a different route? What if a child hadn't wandered off for a moment? What if a particular stranger had been noticed sooner? Each item in the bags can become a focal point for these what-if scenarios, fueling a cycle of regret and self-recrimination. Now consider how this applies when you've made a minor mistake, like forgetting an umbrella. You might think, if only I'd checked the forecast. For these families, that if only has been amplified to an unbearable magnitude for 3 decades, with the bags now offering new, tangible points of departure for these painful mental excursions. This constant engagement with alternative realities, while a natural human response to trauma, can trap individuals in a loop of unresolved grief, preventing them from fully accepting the present reality. Building on this, the unearthed belongings also highlight the intricate interplay between individual memory and collective memory, particularly in how historical narratives are constructed and preserved. While the parents' memories are intensely personal and deeply felt, the rediscovery of the bags has the potential to reframe the public's understanding of the event, shifting it from a tragic but distant news story to a more tangible, ongoing mystery. Think about how the discovery of ancient artifacts can fundamentally alter our understanding of historical periods, providing concrete evidence that challenges existing narratives. These bags, in a similar vein, offer a new layer of evidence that can prompt a re-examination of the initial investigation, the media coverage, and the broader societal response. Consequently, the collective memory of this event, which might have begun to fade, is now being reactivated and potentially reshaped by these rediscovered tangible links to the past, underscoring the dynamic and often contested nature of how we collectively remember significant events. Conversely, the reappearance of the bags introduces a fascinating consideration of the hindsight bias, a cognitive bias that makes events seem more predictable or inevitable after they have already occurred. For those reviewing the case, or even for the families themselves, There might be a tendency to look at the circumstances surrounding the disappearance with the knowledge that the children vanished. This can lead to an overestimation of the predictability of the event, making it seem as though the outcome was always inevitable, potentially overlooking the genuine shock and uncertainty that characterized the original situation. Now, consider how this applies when you learn about a surprise outcome in a competition. You might later feel that the signs were obvious all along. This bias can be particularly insidious in investigations, as it can lead to an unwarranted dismissal of original investigative decisions or witness testimonies that, in hindsight, appear to have been misguided, when in fact they were made with the limited information available at the time. Furthermore, the content of the bags themselves can serve as powerful prompts for exploring the concept of object permanence in a deeply emotional context. Object permanence, typically understood in developmental psychology as the understanding that objects continue to exist even when they cannot be seen or heard, takes on a profound and painful resonance here. For the parents, the children themselves may feel like they have ceased to exist in any tangible way, their absence absolute. The bags, however, represent a form of object permanence for the children's presence in the world, concrete proof that they existed, that they had possessions, that they were real individuals with a tangible place in the world, even if that world is now irrevocably altered by their disappearance. Think about how a child's favorite toy, even when put away in a toy box, is understood to still exist. These bags offer that same, albeit tragically different, affirmation of continued existence, a physical testament against the complete erasure that their disappearance might otherwise imply. Another crucial layer to consider is the psychological impact of confirmation bias in the context of the ongoing investigation. With the discovery of the bags, there is a heightened risk that investigators and family members alike may unconsciously seek out or interpret new information in a way that confirms their pre-existing beliefs or theories about what happened. If a particular suspect or scenario has been a long-held focus, any item within the bags that can be loosely connected to that theory might be given undue weight, while contradictory evidence is downplayed. Now consider how this applies when you are trying to prove a point in an argument. You tend to focus on evidence that supports your stance. This bias can be a significant hurdle in uncovering the truth, as it can lead to a premature closure of inquiry, prematurely focusing on a single narrative and potentially overlooking alternative explanations that are equally or more plausible, simply because they do not align with established expectations. Finally, the rediscovery of these personal effects can also be viewed through the lens of narrative closure, the psychological need to complete a story and resolve its uncertainties. For the families, the 30-year wait has been a period of profound narrative incompleteness. The bags, while not offering immediate closure, represent a tangible step towards potentially completing that narrative, providing new data points that can be woven into a more coherent and hopefully conclusive story. Think about the satisfaction derived from finishing a complex puzzle. The pieces, once scattered and seemingly random, begin to form a complete picture. These bags are like newly discovered puzzle pieces, offering the potential to finally assemble the fragmented narrative of that fateful day in Times Square, to bring an end to the agonizing uncertainty that has defined their lives for so long. The rediscovery of the children's bags can profoundly impact the concept of earned hope, a nuanced psychological state where hope is not merely a passive wish, but an active, effort-driven pursuit that gains credibility through tangible progress. For 30 years, the parents have likely engaged in this active pursuit, fueled by instinct and love, but perhaps lacking concrete advancements. The bags, however, represent a new, tangible piece of evidence, a concrete development that can validate and invigorate their long-held hope. transforming it from a potentially weary expectation into a more grounded, actionable belief. Now consider how this applies when you've been working towards a difficult goal. The first sign of real progress, however small, can reignite your motivation and make the objective seem attainable. This discovery offers such a tangible beacon, potentially shifting the psychological burden from one of persistent, unrewarded waiting to one of energized, evidence-based pursuit, allowing them to channel their emotional investment more effectively into seeking resolution. Furthermore, the unearthed belongings can serve as a catalyst for examining the sociological concept of collective efficacy, the shared belief in a community's capacity to organize and execute the courses of action required to achieve common goals. In the wake of the disappearance, the community likely experienced a surge of this efficacy, with widespread searches and support networks forming. However, as time passed and leads dried up, this collective efficacy may have waned, leaving individuals feeling more isolated in their continued concern. The reappearance of the bags could reignite this sense of shared purpose, providing a new, concrete objective for the community to rally around. Think about how a neighborhood banding together to solve a local issue, like improving park safety, can rebuild a sense of shared power and accomplishment. This discovery offers a similar opportunity for collective action, potentially re-energizing community bonds and fostering a renewed sense of agency in the pursuit of answers, reminding them that they are not alone in their enduring commitment to these children. Conversely, the presence of these personal effects introduces a fascinating dynamic related to the availability heuristic, a mental shortcut where individuals rely on immediate examples that come to mind when evaluating a specific topic, situation, or decision. In the context of this case, the bags, being newly available and highly evocative, could disproportionately influence perceptions of what happened, potentially overshadowing other, less tangible, but equally important pieces of evidence or investigative avenues. Now consider how this applies when you're trying to recall information for a test. The facts that are easiest to access in your memory often come to the forefront. The vividness and recency of the bags might make them the most salient pieces of information, potentially skewing analyses and leading to an overemphasis on theories directly linked to their contents, while other, less immediately accessible, but potentially crucial, aspects of the case might be inadvertently sidelined in the renewed investigative focus. Another crucial layer to explore is the psychological impact of cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort experienced by a person who holds two or more contradictory beliefs, ideas, or values, or is confronted by new information that conflicts with existing beliefs. For those who have long held a particular theory about the children's fate, the contents of these bags might present information that contradicts their established narrative. This dissonance can be deeply unsettling, forcing a re-evaluation of deeply held convictions and potentially leading to resistance or denial if the new information is too challenging to integrate. Think about how you might feel if you strongly believed a friend was innocent of a minor transgression, only to be presented with irrefutable evidence of their guilt. That internal conflict can be quite jarring. The bags, therefore, represent not just potential clues, but also psychological challenges, demanding that individuals confront and potentially reconcile conflicting pieces of information and deeply ingrained beliefs about the past. Finally, the rediscovery of these personal effects can also illuminate the sociological concept of social signaling, where individuals use their actions or possessions to communicate their status, beliefs, or affiliations to others. In this context, the parents' continued dedication to searching for their children and the community's support can be seen as powerful social signals of love, resilience, and unwavering commitment. The bags themselves, as artifacts of the children's lives, now serve as potent symbols that the families continue to broadcast to the world, a signal that these children are not forgotten, that their stories are still vital, and that the quest for truth persists. Now consider how this applies when you see a public memorial or a charity event. These are ways individuals and groups signal their values and commitments to the wider society. The ongoing narrative surrounding these rediscovered bags amplifies these signals, demonstrating that even after decades, the emotional and social investment in finding answers remains a defining characteristic of the affected families and their supportive community, a persistent declaration that memory and the pursuit of justice endure. Reflecting on this journey so far, we've navigated the intricate currents of a mystery that has defied the passage of time, a narrative woven from threads of profound personal loss and enduring societal inquiry. The echoes of that day in 1994, amplified by the recent resurfacing of tangible remnants, have illuminated the complex interplay between memory's resilience and the human psyche's relentless quest for resolution. We've seen how the absence of definitive answers can sculpt lives, reshape communal bonds, and even alter our perception of the spaces we inhabit, transforming familiar landscapes into arenas of profound, lingering questions. The very objects unearthed, imbued with the silent weight of unspoken stories, now serve as focal points for a renewed engagement with the past, challenging us to consider the multifaceted ways in which we grapple with the unknown and the enduring power of human connection. As we pivot towards the final reflection, consider the cumulative effect of these explorations. The way disparate threads of psychological impact, investigative evolution, ethical considerations, and the very nature of evidence converge. It's akin to observing how scattered fragments, once seemingly disconnected, begin to cohere, revealing a larger, more intricate pattern. These insights, collectively, paint a picture not just of a singular event, but of the universal human experience of confronting the inexplicable, of the deep-seated need for closure, and of the remarkable capacity for hope that persists even in the face of profound uncertainty. The journey has underscored the subtle yet powerful ways in which the past continues to shape our present, prompting us to look anew at the enduring legacies of unresolved narratives and the quiet strength found in communities that refuse to forget. This convergence of understanding prepares us for a final contemplation on what such enduring mysteries teach us about ourselves and the world we navigate, guiding us toward a broader perspective on the human spirit's capacity to endure and to seek meaning. The rediscovery of those 18 bags, unearthed from the forgotten corners of a city that never truly forgets, acts as a profound anchor, tethering us to a narrative that has spanned 3 decades. It's a stark reminder that the tapestry of our lives, often perceived as seamlessly woven, can be irrevocably altered by single, inexplicable threads that refuse to be integrated. The enduring pain, the relentless search, the phantom memories, the cognitive biases. All these elements coalesce not merely into a story of loss, but into a testament to the human condition itself. We are creatures who crave narrative closure, who build our understanding of the world through coherent stories, and when those stories are fractured by the sheer, unyielding force of the unknown, our very foundations can tremble. The bags, silent witnesses to an incomprehensible void, compel us to confront the limits of our understanding, to acknowledge that even in the most illuminated of spaces, profound mysteries can persist, shaping lives in ways we might never fully comprehend. They speak to the extraordinary burden carried by those who live with ambiguous loss, a state of perpetual in-betweenness that tests the very fabric of resilience. This journey through the echoes of that fateful day in Times Square reveals that the quest for answers is not solely about finding missing children. It is also about understanding the enduring power of memory, the intricate workings of the human mind under duress, and the unwavering strength of familial and communal bonds. The resurfacing of these personal effects serves as a potent symbol for the way in which the past, even when buried, retains the capacity to resurface, to reframe our present, and to challenge our most deeply held beliefs. It highlights the subtle, yet profound ways in which tangible objects can become powerful conduits to emotional truth, capable of reactivating dormant feelings and reshaping our perception of reality. The story, therefore, extends beyond the immediate tragedy, offering a broader reflection on our collective capacity for empathy, our societal responsibility to those who suffer prolonged uncertainty, and the persistent human drive to seek meaning and connection, even in the face of overwhelming adversity. Ultimately, the enduring impact of this narrative lies not in finding definitive answers, but in the questions it compels us to ask, both of ourselves and of the world around us. It is a powerful reminder that the pursuit of understanding is a continuous journey, one that requires not only intellectual rigor, but also profound emotional depth and unwavering compassion. The true practice begins now, in acknowledging the fragility of certainty, in honoring the resilience of the human spirit, and in cultivating a deeper appreciation for the stories that continue to shape our collective memory, even those that remain unfinished. The legacy of those 18 children, etched into the heart of a city and the souls of their loved ones, calls us to embrace the enduring power of curiosity and to never cease in our quest to illuminate the shadows, to find meaning in the mysteries, and to hold fast to the hope that even in the face of the inexplicable, connection and understanding can ultimately prevail.